So did Jesus really claim to be God? Let's take for granted, as we're discussing this, that we believe that we really have the words of Jesus preserved in the gospel. So we'll start there with that common ground. We're not arguing that point right here. So did Jesus in the gospels claim to be God? This is a big question. Many people say no, he never claimed that. He claimed to be the Son of God or the Son of Man, never actually claimed to be God. That is later theologians reading their ideas back into the text. Well, we know that Jesus would not have just overtly said, I am God. That would be subject to lots of misunderstanding. Would that mean that God came down from heaven and was now on earth and was no longer enthroned in heaven? Even from a Trinitarian perspective, if you look back through that lens, was Jesus saying, if he said, I'm God, was he saying, I'm the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or I'm the Father? So he's not just going to say it in that way. And even when John 1 tells us about this, it says that the Word was with God, the Word was God, and the Word became flesh. So it doesn't simply say God became a man, which is an oversimplification of things and can easily be misunderstood. But did Jesus affirm his deity? Absolutely yes. We all know John 8:58. Now, some claim that the right translation is, before Abraham was, I am he, and that's how we should understand it. And you can argue about what the Greek says or reconstruct it in Aramaic or Hebrew. I believe, though, the statement is a jarring statement as is, because he is speaking of his existence being before Abraham and not saying I was, but I am. I believe that's one of the clearest statements where he speaks of his deity, and that's the reaction he gets from the Jewish hearers. Also in John 10, when he says, I and the Father are one, there's clearly something significant. Again, we see from the reaction of the leaders and other Jewish men and women he's speaking to. We look, for example, at the words of Jesus in Matthew 28 in the Great Commission, where he says that disciples, new believers, should be immersed, should be baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. He is clearly associating himself right there with deity, and in that sense, in a triune confession as well. In John 17, as he, as a man, is praying to his Father, he speaks of the glory that he and the Father knew before the world began. And in Mark 14, when he says that you'll see the Son of Man coming on the right hand of power, he is obviously speaking of himself in exalted, deified ways. So does he affirm his deity in the Gospels? Absolutely.